Welcome back, everyone. Again, thanks for coming to my YouTube channel. Let's get right into the news today. There's a lot to talk about. And today is the 14th of August. And we're going to get right down into here. I want to start off today what's going on with Isaiah chapter 19 verses 1 through 4. This is where we're told by God in the Old Testament that in the last days the Egyptians would be coming against the Egyptians. You're going to see why I put this up, because I think this is important information. But if you don't know anything about Isaiah, he's found in the Old Testament. He was talking about what was going to happen to Egypt, and we're seeing that right now. It does appear that that's what's happening. It says, "The burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt. And the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. And I will set," here you go, "the Egyptians against Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom." We're seeing that happen now. We saw last year got really bad. Then it tapered off, and it's getting that much worse again, as you're going to see in the news today. "And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to their idols, and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to wizards, and the Egyptians will I give over into a hand of a cruel lord." Now get this, "and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord of hosts." So we know that Mubarak was ousted, and then Marsi came in, the Muslim Brotherhood, and he was going into Sharia law, and he was doing the things that the Egyptians didn't want, so they ousted him. He could be that cruel lord. But what it looks like is the second part of the scripture may be coming into fruition. If this is what we're reading right here, "the fierce king shall rule over them." Now, what I wanted to show you about this is in my post that I put up at my site, and you'll have the link right here. This is where I'm getting this information from, of July 5th, 2013. I had a dream, and I think that when you listen to what I wrote back then and you see what's happening now, this is before I even knew who this person was. Let me just read this for you in case you've never seen this before. It says, "Last night I had a very bad dream that may be from the Lord." Now, at the time, when I have dreams like this, it was so real, and the account was like watching a movie. And when I get these things, I log them, and so that I wouldn't forget, and I tell it just like it was. And this is what I did here because it was so vivid and clear to me. It says, "All I can recall is some woman was yelling and screaming in panic, and this person was trying to free someone who appeared to be trapped in a car, which looked like it was in a junkyard in the desert with many cars piled on top of it. In my dream, I heard the woman yelling over and over the name Mansour. Up until my dream, I did not know who Mansour was, nor did I ever hear this name. The dream was so intense, it woke me up at 4 a.m. this morning. I couldn't go back to sleep, so I figured I would get an early start on today's post. In one of the first reports I pulled up for today, I noticed something that blew me away, and it is the reason why I have told you my dream may have been from the Lord. I quoted a section from the report which talks about the possible violence coming to Egypt. What caught my eye was that the photo which came with the report, and especially the name which I saw when I saw the photo. The name is Edley Mansour. In my dream, I did not hear the woman say Edley Mansour. All I heard was the last name, but it just may be the Lord was warning me about the same person. At this point, all I can say is this: we will see. So again, this was back in July of this year, and so this is a picture of this person that I was talking about. As I said, I didn't even know who this person was, and I even heard the guy's name before until I saw that photo. That very within, it must have been 10 minutes after I had that dream that I went online, and this was brought to my attention. Now, I wanted to bring you to an article today, and that article is going to be, I believe that you'll find it important. So let me go right over to the article. All right, so we're at their site now, the ABC News, and this is today, the 14th. It says, live updates, Egyptian security disperse pro-Morsi sit-in. So, like I said yesterday, I warned you to expect more violence, more bloodshed, and more killing. And this is what's going on, if you know the scriptures. Now, let me just stop this right here, because there's a video that came with it, and it will automatically play. But I'll get to that, but I just want to give you some information. The headline, you'll know Morsi, he's the one that they disposed. Now, he's locked up, and the Morsi followers, the Muslim Brotherhood followers, they want him out of prison, they want him back installed. So what's happening in Egypt now is we're almost to a full-blown civil war over this, all right? So you'll see here, it says at least 250 people have died in the clashes in Egypt following Morsi's ouster and military coup that followed days of mass protests by millions of Egyptians calling for his removal. Supporters of the Islamic president want him reinstated. Now here is the video that I'm going to play, but before I play that, I wanted to give you this. Let me scroll down here. All right, here's what I wanted you to see right here. It says the Egyptian interim president, Adli Mansour, has announced a state of emergency beginning at 4 p.m. local time Wednesday, lasting for 1 month. As ABC John Williams notes, it effectively turns the clock back to the life under Hosni Mubarak. And this is the one that they thought, they didn't like him because he was a tyrant or like a dictator. The emergency laws gives the military the power to impose curfews and operate summary detention. More to come. So what you have, if you were in the United States, you'd probably say martial law. But this is what they're opposing. Now, when I had the dream, I did not know who Mansour was, but now he is the president. So this is why I've been watching it. And not only is he a president, but he's giving orders that is causing chaos in Egypt. Let me show you what's going on here. I'll give you this information. I'll just play it so that you can see for yourself what's going on.
على الرغم من أن هناك خطورة ومخاطرة وريسك أن يخرجوا من هنا ويحتلوا أماكن أخرى، لكن ومع ذلك قد نفذ وعده. يا أخي إحنا ليه ما بنشوفش الصورة الجميلة العظيمة إنه هذا الرجل أو جهاز الشرطة في مصر والله المحترم جدا قد آثر أن ينفذ وعده للناس بخروج آمن، وهو يعلم تمام العلم أن منهم من يخرج ويسبب له مشاكل في أماكن أخرى، حتى لا يتهم أنه قد حنث الوعد أو خالف العقيدة بتاعته.
يعني ربما هذا ما نراه على الشاشة الآن هذا الاعتصام فقط، لكن الصورة ليست فقط اعتصام رابع العدوية. هناك يعني قوات الشرطة لم تكن مستعدة لفكرة أن يكون هناك اعتصام آخر كما جرى في مصطفى محمود، ولم تحاول منه، وأدى الأمر لاشتباكات وكذلك سقوط ضحايا من الجانبين. هناك أيضا اشتباكات امتدت في المناطق القريبة من اعتصام نهضة ولم يتم التعامل معها.
أنا قلت لحضرتك إنه إذا كان في خطة الداخلية فقط اعتصام النهارده دون الأخذ في الاعتبار تداعيات الموقف على النحو الذي رأيناه من احتلال بعض الأماكن أو حرق بعض الكنائس أو اقتحام بعض اقسام الشرطه اعتقد ان ده خطا. اما اذا كان الامر قد حسب انه مجرد حصار حتى يفض الاعتصام فيما هو قادم، ثم حدث هجوم من قبل الاخوان على الشرطه فعجلت التنفيذ ان هم دون نفس الاعتبار لتداعيات الموقف، انا اعتقد انه مغفور له هذا الخطا. لكن على اي الاحوال كان من المفروض دراسه ابعاد الموقف وتداعياته على اسوء احتمال ممكن.
يعني هذه الصور مستمره معنا من هذا المخرج من رابعه العدويه، اعداد تقدر بالمئات.
So what they're doing, they're just showing you the protesting, the protesters, if you will. But the bottom line is this. What the Lord warned us about concerning Egypt is happening right now. And it is happening at the same time as you see the rest of the prophecies taking place. And what I mean by that, I mean all of them. When you look at what the Lord warned us about these last days, we're seeing Syria with their problems, we're seeing Egypt with the problems, we're seeing the Middle East as an entity is having major problems. Problems with Israel and Iran. We see this in Scripture. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And all of these issues, all of these signs are in my book, by the way, that you can get today for free. So when the Lord showed me, and I believe that it appears now that it does look like the Lord was warning me about this Mansour, and I'm glad that I did put this up. I'm glad that I did tell you about this dream. A lot of the times I don't like telling people about dreams because there are so many dreams that people have that really don't come from the Lord. So I want to make sure. And this is why even in my post that I gave to you in July, I said that I'm not sure if this is from the Lord, but we'll find out. And I found out very, very quickly that it certainly looks like the Mansour, this man right here, could be that fierce king, this fierce person that will be ruling over Egypt. We're definitely going to find out, but he even looks like this fierce king. But if he continues on the way he is and hold martial law in Egypt, then we'll have a better indication of who this man is. So now what I wanted to do is play a video for you showing you the what's going on, the conflict in Israel. The other one, in Egypt. The other video that I just played for you just showed you demonstrators walking. But take a look at this.
Egypt's security forces move in to break up the sit-in at Nahda Square near Cairo University. Using tear gas, riot gear, and other force, officers drag protesters away. In the confusion caused, protesters used field hospitals to treat some of the injured. First aiders were forced to wear gas masks to keep away the tear gas while they treated their patients. Some of those involved in the protests have accused the authorities of using lethal force.
The attacks have been very violent. Police are using tear gas, live bullets, and rubber bullets. They are using all kinds of lethal force to disperse the sit-ins. Many people are being killed.
Egyptian TV then showed images of ammunition the security forces claimed to have found in the protesters' sit-in camp. The authorities then showed some of the people they had arrested when they cleared the site. At another of the protest centres in Nasser City, many casualties were brought to receive whatever medical treatment was available.
So there you have it. And we should expect this because this is what the Lord wrote down. This is what He told us to keep our eyes on the watch for. And this does two things. Number one, this will keep you on your toes. And number two, it proves that what the Lord said is coming to pass, which shows us that He is the real deal. He is the Messiah. He is the creator of the world, and He's coming back soon. So we need to be ready for Him. Now, let me just touch base very briefly with the Psalm 83 war. I need to make the connection between the Psalm 83 war and the connection of the call for peace and safety when the sudden destruction will come, as you're going to see here. Now, Psalm 83 for the new people. This is a war that's coming up, and then you'll see all the list of all the people who are going to be attacking Israel, right? And the Psalm 83 war happens before the Ezekiel 38 war. Don't get those two wars mixed up. They haven't been fought yet, but they will be fought. We know that all the nations are going to be coming against Israel. We see that it says, come and let us cut them off for being a nation. So all of these nations are going to come together thinking, and they're going to destroy Israel. Now, when is this going to happen? Well, when we look at what Paul wrote under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit by our Lord, Savior Jesus, we know that when they're calling for peace and safety, that is the time when the sudden destruction is going to be coming. This is what I've been warning about, and I wanted to give you an update about what's going on because the peace process was supposed to begin again today. The stalled peace process actually been stalled for about 5 years. And they've been trying to get it going. And now, Wednesday, today, John Kerry is in Israel trying to install those peace talks. And there's been major problems. And I've been telling the people, watch my YouTube video from yesterday, go to my site, and you'll see what I wrote about it there, that there's not going to be any peace because the Lord told us the sudden destruction was going to come while they're calling for peace and safety. Now, on the day that you're supposed to see these entities sit down together, the Palestinians and the Israelis, don't you think that if you wanted to have some kind of dialogue, for peace dialogue, that you would have peace gestures? Well, that's not how it is with the Palestinians in the Gaza. And I've warned people, I don't know how many times. It takes a lot of time to go back to my old post to show you what I wrote in my warnings. I do that many times, and you can just Google it for yourself. But I've warned you that these Palestinians who are listed as the Phoenicians in the Old Testament that are going to number themselves in the Psalm 83 war with the rest of their bordering nations around Israel, they're going to attack. Now, on the day that John Kerry is supposed to try to resume the peace talks, look at this. I'm going to go over to the article. This is from the Telegraph. Israel launches Gaza air raid after rocket attack. The Israeli Air Force targeted the rocket launch sites in Gaza hours before the resumption of the peace talks with the Palestinians after rockets were fired from the area, the Israeli army said. So, like I've been warning, like I warned yesterday, like I've been warning ever since I opened up my site, don't expect Middle East peace anytime soon until the Antichrist comes. And that's going to be a false peace. But there's going to be a period of time where this conflict is going to, conflicts like this with these attacks are going to end up being in a full-blown war like we saw in 67 and in 1973. The air raids targeted 2 rocket launch sites after rockets were fired on Tuesday from the Gaza Strip, one which exploded in Israeli territory, said the army spokesman. No one was injured in the attack. Hamas, which is listed in the Psalm 83 war, must account for any violation of Israeli sovereignty, and the terrorist regime that it has put in place will be held responsible for any terrorist activity coming from the Gaza Strip, the spokesman added. The Islamic Hamas movement, which controls the Gaza Strip, is opposed to the resumption of the U.S.-sponsored peace talks in Jerusalem later Wednesday. So negotiations will come just hours after the release of the 26 Palestinian prisoners as of a confidence building. This is what I talked about yesterday. I told you that Israel was going to be building more homes, which the Palestinians hate, and that's caused, as you can see here, provoking Palestinian fury. So don't look for peace. Look for what the Lord told us to look for. And what is that? Well, obviously, it is the destruction. All right, moving on. I wanted to share a little bit about earthquake news, since this is one of the signs, one of the many signs the Lord told us about. You'll see it here in Matthew 24, verse 7. Some of the other signs along with it, but this I'm going to center around earthquakes. Because there's been a rash of earthquakes. I gave a warning last week to watch earthquakes that are going to be coming this week, and that has happened. We see in the news today, Mexico, there was a 5.3. This is a pretty good size earthquake in magnitude. It hit Mexico that struck about 9:50 a.m. local time. It says the quake had a moderate depth and it struck just 21 miles below the ground level. And I have a link here that you can go get the news if you wanted to read more into it. But I just want to give you updates on what's happening with these isolated prophecies. And again, one of the prophecies that I've been given to you almost every single day now, and it's just like the numbers are growing exponentially. These, you'll see yesterday I put up this prophecy for you, and this talks about the birds, fish, and the animals dying. And then I put up Ezekiel for you today. So this is another one of those prophecies talking about and dealing with the same issue. All right, and that comes from Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 20. The fish of the sea, the birds in the air, and the beasts of the field, every creature that moves along the ground, and all the people on the face of the earth will tremble at my presence. The mountains will be overturned, the cliffs will crumble, and every wall will fall to the ground. And here we go. He talks about the same thing, that the birds, the fish, and those that are in the sea are going to be dying. So this is an update. I didn't have this in my book as of yesterday, but today when this news broke, I took the time early this morning when I got up at 4:30 in the morning. I added this into my book, so when you click the link at my site today, you're going to have all this new information in my book. So instead of reading every single one of the news articles, what I'm going to do is, because I listed them all here for you, let me just go over to these articles, just give you some of the headlines. You can see the fish are dying here. I'll let you go and read the entire article. Now keep in mind, as I go through these things, as I'm talking away here, a lot of these are being translated because the events are taking place in different parts of the world. And here we have the bleeding heron discovered, alarms BC marine biologists. It's alarming to people who don't know prophecy. It's very alarming, but if you know the word of the Lord and you know what to expect, you shouldn't be alarmed at what we're seeing. There's another one that says that investigates the Panther Creek fish kill. All right, so there's headlines and reports almost every single day. You see it right here. I'm just going to be moving fairly quickly, and again, you're going to have all of this information at my site, where you'll be able to. This is one of the ones that is the translated. You're going to have it all at my site, the links to be able to go to there. More than 20 tons of fish die from the heat in the lake. So what we know is, and I've been reporting about this, I think I reported about this yesterday, I'm pretty sure that I did. I'm making so many videos that it's hard to keep track of everything, but I did mention in that video about the intensity of the sun, the heat, and how it's taking the oxygen out of the water, and as a result, it's killing off the fish. Well, we know now from this, look at this, due to the heat, extraordinary heat, that more than 20 tons of fish perished last week. All right, well, it's continuing. So let's move on here, see what else we have. There's another one. Thousands of fish were found dead due to pollution. And you'll have the pictures, and every time I go across, we have some of these pop-ups come up, so you'll have to bear with me on that, but thousands of dead fish, likely natural causes. is 20,000 pounds of dead fish next to sewage outlet. Again, this is a translation, but you'll be able to read it. There's, like I said, and in my book I outline many reasons why fish, animals, and so forth are dying. Let me just get this other one here. So there's a whole list, thousands of fish, all the way up until, as you can see, the newest reports of the 13th, which is today. China having problems, France, Switzerland, they're all over, United States. Now, I want to get into another part because this affects food, and it costs, if you have so much food that is being destroyed, dying off, then all it's going to do is raise the price of food. And so we know that this is the case because we know from Scripture that the fish, the birds, and the animals are going to be dying off. And when they die off, the food chain is disrupted. And when it's disrupted, obviously it's going to cost more money to feed people. And it's going to be less of the food, and it's going to rise the cost of living through the roof. So we know that the food crisis is coming. How do we know this? Well, if you read Revelation 6:6, the Lord gives us a warning there. And he says, "And I heard the voice in the middle of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny." Now, instead of doing a complete study, just let me tell you this. Jesus shows us in the New Testament, of course, Revelation is in the New Testament, but in Matthew chapter 20, or can't recall what chapters. You could do a Google search on that right now. I got a brain thing going right here, but that's what happens when you're up at 4:30 in the morning. But the Lord showed us that people would be working all day long for one small meal, for one person, enough for one day, one person, not 3 days or not 3 meals, one meal, about a quart of wheat is for just may satisfy somebody for one meal. But what are you going to do for the rest of the meals? And we know that the book of Revelation, this is going to be where it reaches its max. The crisis will reach its max. And one of the things that I've been looking at is what's going on with the bees. Now, bees are very, very important. We saw, there's 2 articles that I saw today, one from Amsterdam, and there's another one being reported here about bees that are dying off. So what I wanted to do was show you a video that talks about South Dakota honeybees dying. And I'm going to play the video. I'll stop the video and connect the dots with you. But look at, if you should understand that pollination is one of the most important things we have for producing crops. If we don't have bees to pollinate the crops, you're not going to have the crops. And if you don't have the crops, what are you going to have? Obviously, you're going to have a food crisis, right? And if that's the case, you're going to see the fulfillment of Revelation 6:6. We're well on the road to that. Let me go over and play this video for you. Now, this is the news that I just said. South Dakota honeybees dying. And I'm going to have the link there for you and all this news there, but I'm going to play the video for you because it talks about everything that I would be saying in that report.
Nature's
sweetener,
so valued it was once used as currency, thick golden honey. It will take 12 of these worker bees their entire lives to make 1 teaspoon. Problem is, there are fewer bees to make the honey. All over the country, bees are dying, and so far there's no way to stop it.
We had 5 million colonies here about in the late 80s, now we're down to 1.7. And so we're going downhill.
Richard 80 lost about 50% of the bees in his family-run operation last year. 80's been caring for bees since he was a boy, learning from his father and his uncles, a tradition that he's passed on to his kids.
Oh, that's nice to see.
Right now, his bees are just starting to make honey.
These will be filled full of honey. Hopefully in about 30
days.
80 and
other honey producers spend more and more of their time and resources rebuilding their hives each year, try to recover from what is commonly called colony collapse disorder.
It's called a
disorder because no one, including government scientists,
really know
what it is.
They're really pleased to see this really around.
The latest theory, it's a combination of viruses, parasites, a fungus, and possibly even stress combined with certain pesticides.
If we don't find out the cause of colony collapse in the next 2 or 3 years, this industry is about to go out of business.
The demise of bees could send shockwaves through the entire ag industry. Producing honey is only part of what bees do. You see, every winter, 80 and other beekeepers are paid to ship their bees to places like California and Washington, where bees pollinate fruit and nut trees.
In fact, these bees will be headed for
almond groves in California next winter.
One time it was a honey issue. But it's moved beyond honey now. People say, well, we can get along without honey, but we can't get along without that pollen. Every third bite comes from a bee-pollinated plant.
All eyes are on Europe, where the pesticides in question have been banned. If bee populations make a comeback there, they will know for certain that the pesticides are indeed the problem.
Long term, I don't know. I know everybody's real apprehensive right now about what will happen long term. Some people say the industry is doomed. I'm not quite that far down the line yet. There's that thought running out there. It looks nice. I think we're going to work our way out of it. We're going to suffer a little pain.
All right, they stopped it there. Suffer a little pain. You're not kidding. All right, this is the report that I wanted to show you, that what the bees would affect if they weren't pollinating these crops. Let me go here. All right, so this is an article entitled, "Where Have All the Bees Gone?" It says, news headlines of late are sounding a disturbing alarm. Where have all the bees gone? The culprits range from the weather to pesticides, but no one really seems to know why. And this was primarily about the same thing that we just heard from that bee expert in that video. What we do know is that if the bees are to be wiped out, we'd take a $14 billion hit on farmers' crops. Honeybees don't just make honey, they pollinate more than 90 of the tastiest flowering crops we have. Among them, apples, nuts, avocados, soybeans, asparagus, broccoli, celery, squash, cucumbers, and lots of the really sweet and tart stuff too, including citrus fruits, peaches, kiwi, cherries, blueberries, cranberries, strawberries, cantaloupe, and other melons. The scramble to figure out what to do next in order to ensure nations and world's food supply is in full gear. This is what I was talking about. She really hits it on the head here, as far as I'm concerned. This article by this food doctor here hits it right on the head, because this is what Christ points to. This is what he alludes to. Now, I can't tell you for sure if it's going to be the main reason. I don't think so, because I think that with the intensity of the sun that the Lord told us that would be falling on the people in the last days, and massive storms, I think when you put all these problems together, then it's going to be massive. It's going to cause massive crops destruction. And if you have the bees that are dying off in numbers now, and they increase like birth pangs like Christ talked about in the last days, you can actually see how the nations around the world, their food supply will dwindle because nothing is being pollinated. Very interesting article. So that's it. And that's pretty intense. I noticed that there's more and more information about the bee population dying off. It's something that you should be concerned about, watching the news, because it just is an indication that we're very, very close to what the Lord talked about, and all the signs. And when he's talking about these signs and we see them coming to pass, that just tells us that what? Well, that tells us that Christ is coming back, and he's coming back sooner than most people believe that he's coming back. So, again, go to my website. My website is www.endtimesresearchministry. And when you get there, you'll be able to click my link right there and download my book today, the documentary that so many are getting. And again, thank you for coming to my YouTube channel. I'm going to have some other news that won't be on the video today, so you might want to check my website a little bit later today. God bless.